Hello and welcome back to Sheaff Math. In today's lesson, we're going to be learning how to rationalize a denominator. So, what do we exactly mean by that? Well, if you were asked to simplify a fraction, in the past, you've maybe had a fraction that looked like this, and we noticed that the top and bottom can be divided by 3, and so that simplifies to 2/3, right? You might have even had something like this. There's a radical at the top, and the 2 and the 8 can actually simplify, and we get 1 over 4 for those, and we end up with square root 5 over 4, okay? But now what you're going to do is you're going to see a fraction with a radical in the denominator, okay, like this. Now, the reasoning why we rationalize this or get rid of that radical 2 at the bottom, it's up for debate, but there is something to be said to being easier to divide by a whole number when it's in the denominator and not an irrational number like radical 2. So here's the process on rationalizing the denominator. We want to get rid of that radical sign, right? That radical 2. And so the way that we do that is we multiply radical 2 over radical 2, right? That's a 1, so we're multiplying by 1 won't change the value of it. And so here's what we get. We get 3 radical 2 over radical 4 because the 2's can multiply at the bottom. And so the reason that we did that was because now that radical 4, square root of 4, can become 2 and becomes an integer, okay? And that being your final answer. You just rationalized the denominator. Let's do a few more examples. And so we'll start off with some easy ones. This one's very similar to the one we had before. So we want to get rid of that radical 5. We multiply by radical 5 over radical 5, giving us 7 square root 5 over square root 25. Now you might notice I use radical and square root interchangeably. It's just a habit, but that square root of 25 can simplify to a 5, and so we are in the clear as far as rationalizing this. Now this one right here, we want to rationalize this, so we're going to multiply by square root 6 over square root 6, giving us 12 square root 6 over square root 36. And that becomes a 6 at the bottom. And so you might think, hey, I'm done. But there's a little bit more simplifying. That 12 and the 6 can simplify to a 2 over 1, right? Because they both divide by 6. And so this simplifies to 2 radical 6, being your final answer. Okay, so just because you got rid of that square root at the bottom doesn't mean you're actually done simplifying. All right, here's another one. This one now has radicals in both the top and the bottom. So we do the same thing. We want to get rid of that radical 3, so we multiply by this, and we end up with 2 radical 18 over radical 9, giving us 2 radical 18 over 3. And you might think, hey, I'm done. But you're not quite done if your teacher has you do this, because in a previous video that we did here, you might have remembered that we can simplify radicals. And so this radical 18 at the top can actually be broken apart and simplified. You see, radical 9 times radical 2 is equal to radical 18, and so we can actually take that radical 9, which is a 3, out of it, giving us this, 2 times 3 times radical 2. Okay, we square rooted that 9. And now we can cancel out the 3's, leaving us with 2 radical 2. That's our final answer. So, this is the basics of it. You know, I'm sure you'll be doing more complicated problems coming up, but this is just kind of the basics of it, and gives you a little idea on some easy ones and some little bit more difficult ones. And there you have it. You just learned to rationalize the denominator. I hope you learned it. If not, just watch it again. I think that once you see it a few times, it'll it'll click in for you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.